Hey everyone, so today I am going to begin a 5-part series of mini art lectures. So this is the first lecture and I'm going to be talking about perspective today. So perspective is basically like the foundation of good drawing. So a lot of the times you'll like look at a painting or a drawing and you know like when you look at it and you can just instantly tell that something's not quite right. A lot of the times, the reason that it looks like that is because the artist kind of messed up the perspective. So, for example, if you're going to draw like, for example, a railroad track like going off into the distance, like into a sunset, and you draw it like this, right? So almost immediately you can look at that and you know that it's not right, like it looks like more like a ladder or something. So the correct way to draw with perspective is to draw like this. Right, so perspective is kind of what really like brings your drawing to life and really gives it like that 3D element, and it's going to give it depth. Right? And so the most important thing in perspective is establishing what's called the eye line, okay? So number one, most important thing is the eye line. So if you guys want to take a second and look at this picture and try to figure out where the eye line is in this picture.
On that line?
So it's actually, so this is the horizon. The eye line is actually right about here. So this is the horizon, and this is the horizon and the eye line are not the same thing. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different. The reason why this is the eye line is because if you extend the tracks all the way, they're going to converge at this point. And this point is called the vanishing point. So a picture in perspective, all the lines are basically going to converge to this vanishing point. So, for example, if you wanted to add in like some light posts or something to this, it might look something like this. You would start basically by going like this, drawing these lines, and then you can add in these light posts right here, and they're basically going to follow. See how they kind of converge in towards that vanishing point? And then you can go like this, right? So the main idea of perspective, to keep it simple, is basically things that are closer to you are bigger and things that are further away are going to get smaller, obviously. And what's really important is the eye line, because, for example, if you think about a tall person, like think about like walking through a crowd of people. A tall person is going to be like looking down on people's heads, and then maybe like a little kid is going to have a different perspective. They're going to be like looking up, and they're just going to see like people's legs, or it's going to be a completely different picture to them. So this right here, this is like a pretty tall person, right? They're like up here. I'll use this same eye line. This eye line right here. So maybe a little kid that's a lot shorter might see the track look something like this. So you can see how the perspective changes a little bit. You can see how you're kind of looking. These look a lot higher, and your eye line is a lot lower, right? So these drawings right here are in something that's called one-point perspective. Okay, so one-point perspective is basically when you're looking straight onto something and everything's going into one vanishing point, right? So there's also two-point perspective, and I'm gonna just erase the word of the day. I'm sorry to the grammarian, but. Okay, so I'm going to extend this all the way out. This is the eye line again. So if you wanted to do 2-point perspective, it's the same idea, except you just have 2 points. So you'd have like this right here, and then maybe this one over here. And say you're like drawing a cube. You start down here, and you're not looking at it face on. The cube is kind of like shifted a little bit. So the way that you do it is you just draw these lines all the way up here, right? And these ones would extend all the way up. Kind of like that. So there's like a cube in 2-point perspective. So you can see how it's a little bit different because it's turned. It's important to think about whether the object is below or above the eye line. So since this is below it, we're like looking down and we can see the top of it. If you're gonna draw it above, like this, you're gonna be able to see the bottom of it. So you can see how the perspective of it changes depending on the eye line. And 2-point perspectives is super easy to draw. You can kind of see how you can kind of make like, you can just keep on adding little blocks. And it's pretty easy to like make a little city. So I'm gonna, and it's all about, it's really simple. It's all about just having these lines always going to those vanishing points, right? So this is going over here. And you keep drawing, and you can kind of see like a little city start to form, right? Like these are buildings, this is the road. So this is 2-point perspective. So 1-point versus 2-point perspective. So the big idea of all of this is basically that if you can draw a cube or like a rectangle in any like space or any angle, you can basically draw anything, because basically everything can fit inside of a box, right? Which is like the third big thing to remember. Everything in a box, okay? So like I could fit in like a rectangular box, like the whole, like you guys could fit in boxes, the whole room could be a big box. So if you can take an object and kind of break it down into boxes, then you can kind of like slowly start to construct it. So I'll do like a little demonstration of a lamp. So if you guys want to like take a second to visualize a lamp. So basically a lamp is going to have like, it's basically like 3 main shapes. It's like the base is going to be like a rectangle, and then it's going to have like a shade at the top, and then it's going to have like a stand. So it's basically like 3 shapes. So I'll start over here with the base, and we're going to do it in 1-point perspective. So it's going to look kind of like that. So there's the base, you're looking down on it. The lampshade I'm going to put up here. Same idea, 1-point perspective. It's going to be a bigger box, and we're going to be able to look underneath it. And then you can kind of just start to fill in the lampshade with these basic shapes. And erase this stuff. Here's the stand. And so there's just like a quick, easy way to draw a little lampshade. Main idea is that everything can kind of, you can break it down into little boxes, and if you can draw a box in any angle, then you can pretty much try anything. So there it is. That's my first mini lecture on art. And so today, when you guys are out walking around outside, look off into the distance and identify your eye line, and think about how everything can be put into little boxes, and then think about how the edges of those boxes are all going to converge to these different vanishing points. Thanks.